One of the things that we read on Rosh Hashanah for the Haftarah is the incredible story of Tfilas Chana, of the prayer of Chana. This great Chana was unable to have children, and it tore at her heart. It broke her heart. And specifically in Rosh Hashanah, we read about the circumstance that led her to daven to Hashem, to pray to Hashem, to answer her tefillos, to answer her prayers, to bless her with a child, which ultimately was answered in the form of the prophet Shmuel. A question one could ask is, why do we read this story on Rosh Hashanah? What is the lesson for us? The Gemara tells us that the reason we read this on Rosh Hashanah is that Hashem simply remembered Chana on Rosh Hashanah. And therefore, we invoke Hashem's memory. You should remember our merits, our ancestors' merits, etc. But Rav Soloveitchik says something absolutely beautiful that can apply to all of us as we approach this holy day in front of us. Rav Soloveitchik says, if you look carefully at the words, the Navi tells us, the prophet tells us, that it was on that day where these events unfolded that led to Chana's prayer. What happened on that day? So on that day, the Rav explains, her husband Elkanah made it known that he stopped. He was going to basically stop beseeching God on Chana's behalf to bless her with a child. Like, clearly she was barren, she was unable to give birth, and it was time to just move on. And Elkanah tells her on this day, he says, and after all, Chana, am I, Elkanah, your husband, am I not more precious to you than 10 children? And it was in that moment that Chana realized that she can no longer rely on her husband to daven on her behalf, that it would now fall solely on her shoulders. And the idea perhaps is that when she realized that, and she realized that there was nothing else that she could rely on, there's no one else to rely on, it was only her and Hashem, her and God, her and the king who is her father. When she realized that that was the only one in the world that she could possibly rely on, she was able to formulate the epic prayer that we know is Tfilas Chana, the prayer that we know is answered, and the prayer that we know ultimately produces offspring for Chana in the form of Shmuel Hanavi, Samuel the prophet. And as we invoke Hashem as well, as we approach Rosh Hashanah, as we anoint God as our king on Rosh Hashanah, as we acknowledge all of this, we approach Hashem and we say, Hashem, I'm coming to you on Rosh Hashanah. I've made mistakes. I regret those mistakes. There's a lot I need in my life. I need a year of health. I need parnasa, sustenance, happiness. I need good things. I need things for my family. And I'm coming to you just like Chana before you. And I'm declaring that I am solely relying on you. There's nothing else. I can have many false senses of security to make me feel like what I want will happen. But at the end of the day, I rely completely and solely on you. This perhaps might be a message that we can take with us as we think about what it means, this idea of malchios, of the sovereignty, the kingship. One of the elements of our prayer on Rosh Hashanah, perhaps one of them is understanding that ultimately everything that we need and want solely comes from our King. Hopefully we should have a beautiful, fulfilling Rosh Hashanah, which we're able to anoint Hashem, our King. We're able to put our entire burden upon Him, to dig deep within us, to ask Him of everything that we need, understanding that He alone can give it to us. And please God, all of us will be blessed to have a beautiful year of health, happiness, joy, and will be written and sealed in the book of life.